I'd like to thank you all for engineering this afternoon of tribute to my father, especially those of you from the Garden Conservancy, Wave Hill, and the New York Botanical Garden, and those of you who have spoken here this afternoon, as well as all of those who've written in. Nice booklet that was published this afternoon. It's very heartwarming. As well as everybody here who's taken a moment out of the hurly-burly of their life to be with us this afternoon. Thank you. In our family, there is a quatrain which seems to have served for almost every imaginable important family occasion, from my sister's bridal dinners to my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And it's a favorite of people in the theater who like to sing, which is where I first heard it. It was penned by Richard Wilbur for the finale of Leonard Bernstein's Candide. And it is a take on Voltaire's enigmatic dictum, which ends the book, which chronicles the adventures and misadventures of Candide and a circle of his friends. Maybe they should be called acquaintances or even accomplices, as all those people undergo plague, pestilence, famine, war, sexually transmitted diseases, and all the accoutrements in the modern world. In French, the book ends with the words, "Il faut cultiver notre jardin." And at the moment of cathartic release at the end of the Broadway musical, which is, some people think it's an opera, but it began on Broadway, the quatrain that is translating this goes like this: "We're neither wise, nor pure, nor good. We'll do the best we know. We'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow." My father used this quote as the very last words in his book, The Greater Perfection. It's well known that my father, normally a properly reticent Upper East Side New Yorker, had a truly visceral response to plants. Marco Polo talked about his weeping about them. Once when visiting a park in Alaska, I've been told, he was reportedly emotionally overwhelmed when a friend and botanist, Brent Fagan, took him to see an entire valley carpeted with thousands of a particular alpine in splendiferous bloom. Sensing a kindred spirit in my father, when faced with such an effusion of botanical excess, Brent then suggested, well, he'd better see New Zealand, where such sights are commonplace, which of course led to his and my mother's building a house with the most beautiful view in the world on a sheep station near Lake Manapuri on the South Island of New Zealand. It's truly remarkable to me how far a simple visceral response to plants can take a person. It took my father all the way around the world. Last winter, we visited a garden when Paul and I were in New Zealand with my mother, staying at that same house in New Zealand. The garden is called Maple Glen, and it's the life work of a wonderful gardener named Muriel Davison, who my father adored. She has fantastic birds, as well as an amazing garden. They come and sit on her head, and she's got names for each one of them. She told us that he had paid her the most wonderful compliment any gardener could give to another gardener. What had happened was that he had noticed that there had been a change from an earlier visit in one of a series of beds, which, when we saw them, were full of autumn crocus. She told him that it was that because a row of trees had been removed, the edge of the bed had been wavy and scalloped where it had skirted the trees. But now she had changed it to become a gently sinuous curving line, which related to the shape of the hill rather than to the trees that weren't there anymore. My father said, "You never get it wrong, do you?" She liked that. So my father's qualities and behaviors, his visceral emotion response to nature, his patience and practicality in getting things done right, his autocratic insistence on doing things his way, are the rock-solid foundations of his terrific and enormous legacy. We now have the opportunity to decide what to do with this legacy and the high bar of expectations that he set. What has been said today, here, is more than enough encouragement for me to shoulder the weight of the yoke of primogeniture, and emphatically say that we shall carry on. And Caroline showed us the picture of her garden on, keep calm and garden on. And you just have to know that once when my parents were leaving for New Zealand, Caroline came up with the first iteration of that, which is keep calm and carry on. And it was in the form of mugs, and there was a little sort of tea bag tag that came off the mug that also had the same slogan. My father tacked it in his buttonhole and went to New Zealand from Cold Spring wearing that tag. Carrying on. So, while we garden on, and I am very aware of the effort that will be needed to respect the vision of such a creator, and a creator of so much, and keep it relevant, and I realize that we will have to chart our course through a maze of possibilities. So, for the purposes of this speech, I've come up with a few steps for navigating through this modern version of Scylla and Charybdis, and each of these steps conveniently begins with the syllable in. The first is inherit. We inherit the legacy that he has left, all of us, the gardens of Stonecrop, Catrevent, Aberglasney in Wales, New Zealand, as well as the fantastic protective, it's like a liability insurance policy, umbrella of the Garden Conservancy. That's the easy part with that inheritance. The next is to inhabit the spaces in and around these entities, to get to know them, to understand them, with our wellies on and our secateurs in hand, as the climate changes, as Scott Medbury was just saying, and suddenly we're able to grow artichokes in Canada. I mean, is it going to happen? I don't know. And to learn how these gardens and these places and these spaces live and change. And the third is to invest in their well-being. Don't worry, I'm not after your checkbooks today. But as Liza said to Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, just you wait. The fourth and final one is to decide how to, of course, interpret these gardens and spaces, both in the now and for the future. And thanks to everyone here today, and many more who couldn't make it, all this inheriting, inhabiting, investing, and interpreting is in very good hands and can grow on very solid ground. So I'll close with a quatrain that immediately precedes the first quatrain that I read at the beginning of my talk tonight, this afternoon, it's almost tonight, from the finale of Candide. Let dreamers dream what worlds they please. Those Edens can't be found. The sweetest flowers, the fairest trees are grown in solid ground. Thank you.